Lieber himmlischer Vater,
we are coming before you to thank you for your blessing that you've poured upon us today.
wir kommen vor dir jetzt, um dir zu danken für deine Segnungen, die du heute über uns gegossen hast.
Thank you for also for your protection.
Und danke auch für deinen Schutz.
Now I want to thank also that we have this time now to study and to know you better.
Und ich möchte dir auch danken dafür, für diese Zeit, die wir jetzt haben, wo wir studieren können, um dich besser zu kennen.
I'm asking that you please bless Brother Lawrence as he's leading all the class.
So bitte segne Bruder Lorenz, während er die Klasse leitet.
Translation and live stream.
Segne auch die Übersetzung und das Livestream.
Please work on our hearts through your word
Und bitte wirke auf unserem Herzen durch dein Wort.
and let us, all of us, to be blessed by this our study.
Und lasst, dass wir alle gesegnet werden durch diese Studie.
In Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, notes on the live stream group.
So, es gibt Notizen in den Livestream-Gruppe.
And this evening we will look at 2 points where we had a slight misunderstanding, I think.
Und heute Abend werden wir 2 Punkte anschauen, wo wir eine leichte Missverständnis gehabt haben.
But that's not so big a deal because we didn't really make any conclusions based upon these points yet.
Und das ist nicht so allzu groß ein Thema, denn auf diesen Punkten haben wir noch keine Schlussfolgerungen gezogen.
At least not that I think of at the moment. So we will look at Ezekiel 45 and 48 tonight.
So, wir werden Ezekiel 45 und 48 heute Abend anschauen.
And everybody who has already read chapters 40 to 48 knows that they're pretty technical. Okay.
Und all diejenigen von uns, die bereits Ezekiel Kapitel 40 bis 48 gelesen haben, die werden wissen, dass diese Kapitel etwas sehr technisch sind oder kompliziert sind.
So with some verses you need to think of, like, I don't know, you have to read them a couple of times before you really understand what it says there. Okay.
Einige Versen musst du sogar sich mal lesen, bevor du es überhaupt verstehst, was geschrieben ist.
But doesn't matter. I mean, these verses here that we will look at are not the most difficult ones. So.
Aber nichtsdestotrotz, diesen Versen, die wir hier heute anschauen werden, sind nicht die schwierigsten unter diesen Versen.
Okay. So let's go now to Ezekiel 45.
So, jetzt zu Ezekiel 45
And we will read the verses 1 to 8.
und wir lesen vorerst die Versen 1 bis 8.
Okay, and just to already give you a certain introduction,
Und nur um eine gewisse Einleitung hierzu zu geben,
okay, it's basically speaking about this heavenly temple that will be built.
es spricht über diese himmlische Tempel, die gebaut wird.
And basically it's this temple that is described in these chapters has never been built in the history.
Und dieses Tempel, die hier in diesen Kapiteln beschrieben wird, ist noch nie in der Geschichte gebaut worden.
So it's like a figure for the heavenly things in the earth made new. Okay.
So ist es eine symbolische Sache für himmlische Dinge in der Erde, wenn es neu gemacht wird.
Okay. So, and the Lord already shows us how He will divide the land and all these things.
Und der Herr zeigt uns bereits, wie er das Land aufteilen wird und all solche Sachen.
Okay. So let's look at this.
So lasst uns das anschauen.
It says, moreover, when ye shall divide by lot the land for inheritance, ye shall offer an oblation unto the Lord, an holy portion of the land. The length shall be the length of 25,000 reeds, and the breadth shall be 10,000. This shall be holy in all the borders thereof round about. Okay, so here when the land will be divided, what does he say? What should also happen?
Also wenn der Land aufgeteilt wird, was sagt er, was soll noch geschehen?
I mean, when the land was divided, when the Israelites went into Israel, how was it divided?
Also als die Israeliten in das Land einkehrten, wie war es damals geteilt?
Yes, it was by lot
Also durch Los.
and was divided among the 12 tribes.
Und es
right?
war unter den 12 Stämmen aufgeteilt.
So the same thing we will see later will happen also here in this case. Okay?
Und dasselbe werden wir hier später erkennen, dass das auch hier in diesem Fall so ist.
Okay, but it says here a portion of the land should be what?
Aber ein Teil des Landes soll was damit geschehen?
Yes, it should be holy and it should be an oblation unto the Lord. Right?
Es soll dem Herrn geweiht, also ein heiliges Land.
Yes, and should be an oblation to the Lord.
That's what I thought geweiht is. The land dem Herrn geweiht. Is that not the same?
An oblation is more like, yeah, you can say a Weihgabe. Yeah.
Okay, es ist eine Weihgabe dem Herrn.
Okay, so and how long shall this be here?
Und wie lange sollte das hier sein?
5 and 20,000. Right?
Also 25.000 mal 10.000.
Yes. Okay. And I already noted down. So the length is 25,000.
Also der Länge ist 25.000
And the breadth is 10,000. Right?
und der Länge ist 10.000.
Okay. Maybe I just write it differently. Okay, so then it goes on to say,
Und dann sagt es weiter,
verse 2,
Vers 2,
of this there shall be for the sanctuary 500 in length and 500 in breadth, square, round about, and 50 cubits round about for the suburbs thereof. Okay, now it speaks of this oblation. Okay, so this land is an oblation.
so es spricht jetzt über diese Weihung, also dieses
The
Land,
Weihgabe.
diese Weihegabe.
Yeah. Of this oblation, in it says here there shall be the sanctuary. Right?
Und da drin soll das Heiligtum oder das Stiftshütte oder das Heiligtum sein.
Yes, and I will also show you why I mark this here now in the middle and not here in the top or in the bottom. Okay, this will come later.
Ich werde euch zeigen, warum ich das hier in der Mitte markiere und nicht hier oben oder unten. Das wird später dazukommen.
Okay, so but it says here, in this oblation here, there shall be the sanctuary.
Aber es sagt, dass hier drin, in diese Weihegabe, soll das Heiligtum sein.
Okay. And what are the measures of the sanctuary?
Und was sind die Maßen des Heiligtums?
Yes. Okay. So I mark this as the temple, the sanctuary. Okay.
Das ist das Tempel, das Heiligtum.
And it's square and it's 500 each side.
Und es ist viereckig und es ist 500 mal 500.
And now let's continue.
Und weiterlesen,
Verse 3.
Vers 3.
And of this measure shalt thou measure the length of 25,000 and the breadth of 10,000, and in it shall be the sanctuary and the most holy place. So it says here, in this 25,000 and 10,000 shall be the sanctuary. Right?
Also innerhalb von diesen 25.000 mal 10.000 soll das Heiligtum sein.
Yes? Everybody sees this? Okay. And then it says in verse 4,
Vers 4.
the holy portion of the land shall be for the priests, the ministers of the sanctuary, which shall come near to minister unto the Lord, and it shall be a place for their houses, and an holy place for the sanctuary. So this oblation, this holy portion belongs to whom?
So diese Weihegabe hier, dieser heilige Teil des Landes, das gehört wem?
What does it say here?
Was sagt es?
Yes, belongs to the priests.
Es
Yep.
gehört den Priestern.
So it's a holy portion. Do we say 4 or 2 priests?
4 or 2. Doesn't make any difference.
Bible says 4?
So, es ist ein heiliges Anteil für die Priester.
Okay. Let's continue.
Weiterlesen,
Verse 5.
Vers 5.
And the 25,000 of length and the 10,000 of breadth shall also the Levites, the ministers of the house, have for themselves for a possession for 20 chambers. So who else gets now a piece of land?
So, wer noch erhält ein Teil des Landes?
The Levites.
Die Leviten.
And what is their land?
Und was ist deren Land?
How big is it?
Wie groß ist es?
The same, right?
Es ist dasselbe.
So also 25,000
So auch 25.000
in length
in Länge
and 10,000 in breadth. Okay.
und 10.000 in der Breite.
So and this is the holy portion for the Levites.
Und das ist das heilige Teil oder Weihgabe, nein, heiliges Teil für die Leviten.
Okay, let's continue.
Weiter,
It says then verse 6,
Vers 6.
and ye shall appoint the possession of the city 5,000 broad and 20,000 long, over against the oblation of the holy portion. It shall be for the whole house of Israel. So now there's a possession for what?
So jetzt gibt es eine Teil, für, also eine Zugehörigkeit für was?
Yes, for the city, right?
Also für den Stadt.
And how big is it?
Und wie groß ist das?
5 by 25.
Yes, it's 5,000 broad, right, and 25,000 length.
Also es ist 5.000 in der Breite und 25.000 in der Länge.
So that's always the length, right?
Das ist immer die Länge.
So it's also here 25,000 in total.
So ist es auch 25.000 hier in der Länge insgesamt.
Okay, but the breadth is, here was always 10,000, here it's 5,000.
Also hier oben jeweils war es 10.000 und hier unten ist es 5.000.
Okay. And when you add these things together,
Und wenn du sie zusammenzählst,
you have a
Four square.
perfect square.
das ist 25.000. Also du hast ein perfektes Viereck.
Okay. So let's continue.
Weiterlesen.
And it says here the city is, and this portion here is for the whole house of Israel. Right?
Sagt, dass diesen Teil hier ist für das gesamte Haus Israels.
Okay. And verse 7.
Vers 7,
Or just let's read verse 6 once more.
Vers
It
6.
says here, and ye shall appoint the possession of the city 5,000 broad and 5,020 long, over against the oblation of the holy portion. It shall be for the whole house of Israel. So this portion for the city should be where?
So dieser
Yes.
Anteil für den Stadt sollte wo?
Over against the oblation, right?
Es
Yes.
ist an der Weihgabe angeschlossen.
Yes. So it cannot be here, for instance,
Es
because
kann nicht hier oben sein,
then it would not be attached to the oblation,
dann
right?
wäre es nicht hier an der Weihgabe angeschlossen.
Okay. So therefore we can already see that this portion here where the temple is, because we saw this is the sanctuary or the temple.
So, denn dieser Anteil hier, wo der Tempel ist,
How do you know it's like this way around and not the other way around? That's what my thought.
also die Frage wurde gestellt, woher wissen wir, dass es so rum ist und nicht das oben und hier da unten?
We'll come to this.
Also wir werden dazu kommen.
Okay. Just check this in better. So. So we definitely can see that this portion must be in the middle. Okay.
Also wir können auf jeden Fall sehen, dass dieses Teil hier muss in der Mitte sein.
Okay.
We can't see it right now because it still could be the other way around.
Okay.
You said you come to this, but
Yes, yes,
now
but
we can't see.
okay. And we can already see it must be in the middle, based upon.
Yeah, it must be in the middle.
Yes.
Also dieses Teil muss auf jeden Fall in der Mitte sein,
Okay, because this must be attached to the oblation.
weil
Okay.
dies muss an
Yeah, but
diese
it's-
Weihgabe angeschlossen sein.
Yes, but this could also be here, right? And this
Aber
here.
das konnte auch hier sein und das hier sein, das ist richtig. Aber dies wird immer noch in der Mitte
Yeah,
bleiben.
okay, okay. It's a different thing.
So now let's go to verse 7.
So, jetzt zu Vers 7.
And a portion shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other side of the oblation of the holy portion and of the possession of the city before the oblation of the holy portion. And before the possession of the city, from the west side westward and from the east side eastward. Okay. Basically, where's east, north, south, west and so on.
So, im Grunde, wo sind die Himmelsrichtungen? Wo ist Norden, Süden, Osten, Westen?
And when we look at this side, right?
So, wenn wir uns diese Seite anschauen,
So here would be east,
da wäre das Osten sein,
this would be south,
das wäre dann Süden,
west,
Westen
north.
und Norden.
I didn't know that.
Because we'll see when we go to the Ezekiel chapter 48. Okay.
So, wir werden sehen, wenn wir zu Ezekiel 48 sehen, dass es so ist.
Okay. Because it's basically, it's like, in verse 1 it said, when you divide the land, okay?
So, Vers 1 ist halt, wenn du den Land teilst.
Okay, and we will see that basically because Israel was, we know that was looking like this, right?
Denn Israel war so ein längliches Stück Land.
East to west.
As from north down to south.
Yeah, the
right?
length
Von
Yes.
from east to west.
Norden bis Süden war es länglich und von Westen bis Osten war es nicht so lang.
Yes, and we'll see that basically these different tribes, they all had like a section one after another.
Und wir werden sehen, dass all die verschiedenen Stämme, die hatten so eine Streifen von diesem Land jeweils bekommen.
And then in between two tribes there was this oblation. Okay.
Und zwischen zwei Stämme gab es diese Weihgabe.
Okay. So let's go now back to verse 7.
Vers 7.
It says, and a portion shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other side of the oblation. So there are these two sides,
Es gibt diese zwei Seiten
and they are for the prince.
und die sind für den Prinz.
Okay. And it says that the basically on the west side westward and on the east side eastward.
Es sagt
Right.
auf der Westenseite westlich und auf der Ostseite östlich.
So east side goes eastward and west side goes westward, and it belongs to the prince.
So östlich geht östlich und Westen geht westlich und das gehört dem Prinz.
Okay. And then it says, and the length shall be over against one of the portions from the west border unto the east border. So basically, it attaches here to the east border and to the west border. Okay.
Also es schließt sich von den Ostengrenze an und zum Westengrenzen an.
So this portion is here on the east border, goes eastward, and this from the west border goes westward.
Also
Okay.
dieses Teil von der Ostgrenze geht östlich und dieser Teil von der Westgrenze geht westlich.
Okay, so and now let's read also verse 8.
Und jetzt Vers 8.
And the land shall be his possession in Israel, and my princes shall no more oppress my people, and the rest of the land shall they give to the house of Israel according to their tribes. Okay, so the Lord specified this oblation here,
So der Herr hat diese Weihgabe abgesondert
and this whole portion here.
und
Okay,
dieser ganze Anteil hier.
but he says the rest of the land is given to whom?
Aber er sagt, der Rest des Landes ist wem gegeben?
In verse 8.
Vers 8.
Yes, to the tribes, right?
Zu den Stämmen.
Okay, so now let's go to Ezekiel 48.
So, jetzt gehen wir zum Ezekiel 48.
Because there we see now these these tribes mentioned. Okay,
Aber jetzt werden wir diesen Stämme erwähnt sehen.
and let's begin in verse 1 and let's read verse 1 and 2.
Und wir fangen an mit die Versen 1 und 2.
Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end to the coast of the way of Hethlon, as one goeth to Hamath, Hazarenan, the border of Damascus northward, to the coast of Hamath, for these are his sides east and west, a portion for Dan. So the first tribe that is mentioned is which tribe?
Also der erste Stamm, der erwähnt wird, ist wer?
It's Dan.
Ist
Right.
Dan.
Okay, so let me just take this way now. Okay, so Dan was given the first portion of the land.
Also Dan ist den ersten Anteil des Landes
And
gegeben.
it says here that basically it's the border of Damascus northward to the coast of Hamath, for these are his sides east and west, a portion for Dan. So there was basically located the eastern border and the western border of the portion for Dan. Okay.
Es beschreibt hier, wo der Ostgrenze und das Westgrenze für den Anteil für Dan
Okay.
zu finden
And I
ist.
think the most easy thing is if I send you a picture
Und das Einfachste ist, wenn ich ein Bild schicke,
that you can basically somehow have a better grasp of how it looked like.
damit es einfacher fassen, wie es so aussieht.
Because otherwise you need to go into these cities where they were located and all these things. This would be
Andererseits musst du in diesen ganzen Städte eingehen, wo sie sich befinden und so weiter.
Okay. I just posted it in the live stream group.
Es ist gerade in den Livestream gekommen.
Okay. So if you can see, right in the north there's Dan. That's the portion for Dan.
Und ihr könnt sehen, ganz im Norden gibt es der Anteil für Dan.
And after that comes Asher,
Und danach kommt Asher,
then Naphtali,
Naphtali,
Manasseh,
Manasse,
Ephraim,
Ephraim,
Reuben,
Reuben
and Judah.
und Judah.
Okay, and this you can basically read from 1 down to verse 8.
Und das kannst du im Grunde von Versen 1 bis 8 so lesen.
Okay, so just so basically the Judah would be the last tribe before this oblation would come.
Also Dan bis Judah. Judah wäre dann der letzte Stamm, noch bevor diese Weihgabe anfängt.
Okay, so let's go now and let's read verse 8
Und lass uns Vers 8 lesen,
just to see that it's now here Judah mentioned.
nur um zu sehen, dass es doch Judah, die hier erwähnt ist.
It says, and by the border of Judah, so here we have Judah, from the east side unto the west side shall be the offering which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds in breadth. Okay, so this offering is by the border of Judah, right?
Also diese Opfer ist an der Grenze von Judah.
Okay, so Judah ends here, and now this offering, this oblation, is given. Right?
Also Judah kommt zu Ende hier und dann ist diese Weihgabe fängt an.
Huh? Everybody can see this?
Kann jeder das so sehen?
Everybody can follow?
Kann jeder folgen?
Okay, good. So it says here, let's continue.
Und weiterlesen.
So this shall be this offering which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds in breadth and in length, as one of the other parts. So how long shall this offering be?
So wie lange soll diese Opfergabe sein?
It's 25,000 in, what does it say?
25.000
In breadth and in
in die Breite und aber auch
length.
in die Länge.
So 25,000 in breadth, in breadth and in length, right?
25.000 in der Länge und auch in der Breite.
Yes?
Amen?
I mean, it says it here, right?
Mhm.
So, I don't know, people look Yes or no?
Amen.
Okay, good. Okay, so it speaks about this here, right?
Es spricht hierüber.
Yeah, it's 25,000 by 25,000.
Das ist 25.000 mal 25.000.
Okay. And then it says, so from the east side unto the west side, and the sanctuary shall be in the midst of it.
Das Heiligtum
Okay.
soll in der Mitte dessen sein.
So in the midst of this 25,000 by 25,000 shall be the sanctuary.
So inmitten von diesen 25.000 mal 25.000 ist das Heiligtum.
And in Ezekiel 45 we already read, the sanctuary was in this part that was the holy portion for the priests, right?
Und in Ezekiel 45, wir haben bereits gelesen, dass der Tempel ist in der Mitte hier, also in dieser Weihgabe für die Priester zu finden.
Yes.
Amen.
So let's continue.
Weiterlesen.
Verse 9.
Vers 9.
The oblation that ye shall offer unto the Lord shall be of 5 and 20,000 in length and of 10,000 in breadth. Okay, now it speaks again about this oblation.
Hier spricht es wieder über diesen Weihgaben.
Yeah. And we read about the oblation already in Ezekiel 45,
Und
right?
wir haben bereits über diese Weihgabe in Hesekiel 45 gelesen.
Because this oblation here is how long?
Denn diese Weihgabe ist hier wie lange?
25,000 in length and 10,000 in breadth.
25.000 mal 10.000.
That's this oblation. 25,000 in length, 10,000 in
Das ist
breadth.
diese Weihgabe hier.
Okay, just confirm it. Keep your finger here. Let's go back to Ezekiel 45.
Und nur um das zu bestätigen, haltet den Platz hier und geht zum Hesekiel 45 zurück.
Let's read verse 1 again.
Vers 1.
Moreover, when ye shall divide by lot the land for inheritance, ye shall offer an oblation unto the Lord, an holy portion of the land. So that speaks now about this oblation of the land. The length shall be the the length shall be the length of 5 and 20,000 reeds, and the breadth shall be 10,000. This shall be holy in all the borders thereof round about. Okay, and then it speaks about in verse 3 that, and of this measure shalt thou measure the length of 5 and 20,000, and the breadth of 10,000, and in it shall be the sanctuary and the most holy place. Okay, so it speaks about the same oblation here.
So spricht über denselben Weihgabe hier.
Okay,
In meiner Bibel sieht das ganz anders aus mit den Stämmen.
okay, wo schaust du denn? Aha. Das war aber auch eine andere Einteilung damals. Das war damals, als sie das Land Israel besetzt haben. Okay? Das war eine andere Zeit. Okay. So, alright, so let's get back to Ezekiel 48.
So zurück zu Hesekiel 48,
So in verse 9
Vers 9,
and 10.
die Verse 9 und 10.
Says, the oblation that ye shall offer unto the Lord shall be of 5 and 20,000 in length and 10,000 in breadth. And for them, even for the priests, shall be this holy oblation. Okay, so for whom is it?
Für wen ist es?
For the priests.
Den
That's
Priester.
just a repetition of what we read in Ezekiel 45.
Eine Wiederholung von das, was wir in Hesekiel 45 gelesen haben.
Okay, so it speaks about this oblation.
Spricht über diese Weihgabe.
Okay, and then it says in verse, it goes on to say,
Es sagt weiter, Vers 10.
toward the north 5 and 20,000 in length, and toward the west 10,000 in breadth, and toward the east 10,000 in breadth, and toward the south 5 and 20,000 in length, and the sanctuary of the Lord shall be in the midst thereof. Okay, so here we can see basically these measurements and what is in the midst.
Also hier können wir diesen Maßangaben sehen und was ist in der Mitte?
The temple.
Der Tempel.
So which should be more here in the middle. Okay.
Sollte mehr hier in der Mitte sein.
Okay, but in this oblation for the priest, in the midst thereof is the sanctuary.
Aber
Okay.
in dieser Weihgabe für den Priestern, im Mitten ist das Heiligtum.
Okay, and then it goes on to say in verse 11,
Und in Vers 11 sagt es,
It shall be for the priests that are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, which have kept my charge, which went not astray when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. And this oblation of the land that is offered shall be unto them a thing most holy by the border of the Levites. Okay, so this is here most holy, it says here.
Das hier ist das am meisten heilig.
Yes.
Am meisten heilig.
Das Heiligste.
It's heiligste.
Das Heiligste.
And it is by the border of the Levites, right?
Und es ist an der Grenze von den Leviten.
Okay. And then verse 13.
Dann Vers 13.
And over against the border of the priests, the Levites shall have 25,000 in length and 10,000 in breadth. So we already saw in chapter 45. We have now for the Levites this portion 25 in length and 10,000 in breadth.
Wir haben das in bereits Kapitel 45 gesehen, diese Portion oder dieser Anteil für die Leviten 25.000 mal 10.000.
And it says it's over against the border of the priests.
Und es ist gegen der Grenze der Priester.
So it's just attached to the border of the portion for the priests. Okay.
Es ist an der Anteil für den Priestern angeschlossen.
And then it says, all the lengths shall be 25,000, and the breadth 10,000. So that's what we also marked here, 25,000 and 10,000.
Das haben wir hier auch markiert, 25.000, 10.000.
Now verse 14.
Jetzt Vers 14.
And they shall not sell of it, neither exchange, nor alienate the first fruits of the land, for it is holy unto the Lord. And the 5,000 that are left in the breadth, over against the 25,000, shall be a profane place for the city, for dwelling and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof. Okay, so in verse 15,
Zu Vers 15.
it says, there are 5,000 left where?
Es gibt 5.000 übrig wo? In der Breadth,
In the breadth.
in der Breite.
And why?
Warum?
Because, the city must be 15,000, right?
Yes, because it says here in verse 8, right?
Das sagt hier in Vers 8.
It says, and by the border of Judah, and we saw Judah came down here, right? So the
An
border
der
of
Grenze
Judah,
von Juda.
by the border of Judah, from the east side unto the west side shall be the offering, which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds in breadth, and in length as one of the other parts. Okay, so it was 25,000 in breadth and in length.
25.000 in der Breite und auch in der Länge.
But we just looked at now at the portion for the priests, which was 10,000 in breadth,
Und wir haben nur den Anteil für den Priestern angeschaut, was 10.000 in der Breite war.
and the portion for the Levites, which was 10,000 in breadth.
Und der Anteil für die Leviten, die auch 10.000 in der Breite war.
But both of these portions were 25,000 in length.
Aber beide von diesen Anteilen waren in der Länge 25.000.
But according to verse 8, it was 25,000 in breadth and length. Right?
Aber gemäß Vers 8, es war 25.000 in der Breite und der Länge.
So therefore, when it says there are still 5,000 missing in the breadth,
Wenn es sagt, dass es 5.000 in der Breite, die noch aussteht,
then it must be this 5,000 because we had already 10,000 in breadth here and 10,000 in the breadth here.
es muss diese 5.000 hier sein, denn wir haben bereits hier 10.000 und hier 10.000.
Okay? Yes?
Amen.
Because then it makes also 25,000 in the breadth. Okay.
Das macht auch 25.000 in der Breite.
Okay, and this 5,000 it says here,
Und diese 5.000,
so let's
sagt
read
es
verse
hier,
15 again.
Vers 15,
And the 5,000 that are left in the breadth, over against the 25,000, shall be a profane place of the city, for the city, for dwelling and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof. Okay, so these 5,000 in the breadth are over against these 25,000.
also diese 5.000 hier in der Breite, die sind gegen diese 25.000.
Okay, and in the midst of this shall be what?
Und in der Mitte dessen soll was sein?
Yeah, the city. Okay,
Der Stadt.
so that's the city. Okay.
Das ist der Stadt.
Now that the city takes all the place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is profane?
plain is like
Not holy. Unholy.
So,
it's like just a common place. Okay. And then verse 16.
Vers 16.
And these shall be the measures thereof, of the city. Okay.
Also die Maßangaben für die Stadt.
The north side 4,500. On the south side 4,500. And on the east side 4,500. And the west side 4,500. Okay. So you can see this portion here is 5,000 breadth and 25,000 length.
Also
Right?
wir können sehen, dass diese Portion hier ist 5000 in der Breite und 25.000 in der Länge.
Okay. So therefore, in the middle thereof was the city. Okay.
Deswegen in der Mitte dessen war der Stadt.
So 25,000 divided by 2 is 12,000. Okay, so if this is now, yeah, now already, I think it was already mentioned in 45. Yes, keep your finger here in 48.
So, haltet den Platz hier
And let's read verse 6.
in Vers 6 in Ezekiel 45.
It says, and ye shall appoint the possession of the city. Ah no, it doesn't say this. So, my bad. It just speaks about 5,000 breadth and 25,000 length. Okay, doesn't matter. But I already tell you, and you will see why, that this whole thing was 5,000 in the breadth and 5,000 in the length. Okay?
Ich sage es euch und ich sage das nur und ich zeige euch gleich warum. Dieses Gesamte war 5000 in der Länge und 5000 in der Breite.
Okay, and therefore, how much is on each side left for the length?
So deswegen, wie viel ist auf der jeweiligen Seite auf der Länge? 10.000.
Yes, 10,000, right?
So, jeweils 10.000.
So 10,000 is left here,
10.000 ist hier übrig
and 10,000 is left here,
und 10.000 auch hier übrig.
and this is 5,000,
Und das hier ist 5.000.
and makes up total 25,000. Right?
10, 5 und 10 macht 25.
Okay, but we read now in Ezekiel 48 verse 16
Aber wir haben in Ezekiel 48, Vers 16,
that the city was 4,500, right?
dass der Stadt selbst war 4.500.
Okay, so I just write it down here, 4,500.
4.500.
But now when we go to verse 17,
Aber wenn wir zu Vers 17 gehen,
it says, and the suburbs of the city shall be toward the north 250, and toward the south 250, and toward the east 250, and toward the west 250. Okay, so on each side there's 250, makes up then basically, if you add it, it's 500 each side. Right?
also auf den jeweiligen Seiten hast du 250 und wenn man das zusammenzählt, ist es 500 insgesamt auf den Länge und Breite.
Yes. Okay, so total I have 5,000.
So insgesamt ist es 5.000.
5,000 square.
5.000. How do you say that in German?
Im Quadrat. Also
5.000 im Quadrat.
okay. So, all right. And now let's go to verse 18.
Und jetzt gehen wir zu Vers 18.
And the residue in length over against the oblation of the holy portion shall be 10,000 eastward and 10,000 westward. Okay, so it speaks about the residue, which is the rest next to the city, right?
Spricht über das Übrige links und rechts neben der Stadt,
Which is over against the oblation. So,
was neben der Weihgabe ist.
and it says here it's 10,000 eastward and 10,000 westward. So you have these 10,000 eastward and 10,000 westward.
Diese
Right?
10.000 östlich und diese 10.000 westlich.
Yes, everybody see this? And it says, and it shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion, and the increase thereof shall be for food unto them that serve the city. So here, food is to be grown.
So hier soll Essen wachsen.
How would you say it? Food grown or food planted, produced? Farm.
Food produced.
Okay, right, farming, okay? Might be- Farming. Okay. Okay. And now let's continue.
So, weiter,
Verse 19.
Vers 19.
And they that serve the city shall serve it out of all the tribes. All the oblation shall be 25,000 by 25,000. Ye shall offer the holy oblation foursquare with the possession of the city. So now it speaks about this whole thing here. Right?
Er spricht es wieder über dieses gesamte Quadrat.
25,000 by 25,000.
25.000 mal 25.000.
And it now calls all of it the oblation.
Und es nennt das Gesamte das Weihgaben.
Okay. And then it says, verse 21,
Vers 21 sagt,
and the residue shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other of the holy oblation. So again, on one side and of the other side of the holy oblation is then for the prince. Right?
wieder auf der einen Seite der Weihgabe, an der anderen Seite der Weihgabe, das ist für den Prinz.
Okay. And then it says, and of the possession of the city over against the 25,000 of the oblation toward the east border, and westward over against the 25,000 toward the west border, over against the portions for the prince. And it shall be the holy oblation, and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the midst thereof. Okay, and then it says, verse 22,
Vers 22.
moreover, from the possession of the Levites, and from the possession of the city, being in the midst of that which is the prince's, between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin, shall be for the prince. And as for the rest of the tribes, from the east side and the west side, Benjamin shall have a portion. So, who comes now after this oblation? Which tribe comes here?
Welcher Stamm kommt nach dieser Weihgabe? Benjamin.
Benjamin. Okay.
Benjamin.
So Benjamin comes here, and now it goes all down to the last tribe that is mentioned, which is when you go down to verse 28, I think it is. Let's see what the picture says. It should be Gad in verse 28.
Vers 28, der letzte Stamm ist Gad.
Okay, it says, and by the border of Gad at the south side, southward. Okay, so here you can see it's south, right? Okay, it goes from north down to south.
So hier können wir sehen, es vom Norden bis zum Süden geht.
Okay, so okay, so this is now basically the 12 tribes, and in the middle between Judah and Benjamin, you have this oblation given to the Lord.
So das hier im Grunde sind die 12 Stämme, und in der Mitte zwischen Judah und Benjamin, wir haben diesen Weihgabe des Herrn.
Okay, so now let's come to already the first conclusion. Okay.
So, lasst uns zu den ersten Schlussfolgerungen kommen.
Okay. We always thought that the temple was in the city. Okay.
Wir haben immer bereits gedacht, dass das Tempel in der Stadt zu finden wäre.
But here it shows us that the temple is outside the city.
Aber hier zeigt es uns, dass der Tempel außerhalb der Stadt ist zu finden.
Okay, let's go now to Revelation 21.
Lasst uns jetzt zur Offenbarung 21 gehen.
Revelation 21 speaks about the holy city. Okay.
Offenbarung 21 spricht über die heilige Stadt.
And we saw the city is right here. Right?
Wir haben gesehen, dass der Stadt gerade hier
So it
ist.
speaks about the city, and it says here in verse 21 and 22.
Es sagt hier in Verse 21, 22.
And the 12 gates were 12 pearls, every several gate was one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. So it says here, in the city was no temple, right?
In der Stadt gibt es keinen Tempel.
So, but it clearly says that there will be this temple, right, in Ezekiel 40 to 48.
Aber es sagt klar in Ezekiel 40 bis 45, dass es diese Tempel geben wird.
Okay. So, but the temple we saw is outside the city.
Aber der Tempel, wie wir gesehen haben, ist außerhalb des Stadts.
And let's look at now, because Sister White confirms this.
Lass uns das anschauen, weil Ellen White bestätigt dies
Let's
für uns.
go to her first vision.
Lasst uns zu ihrer ersten Vision
It's
gehen.
now in the notes.
Es ist in den Notizen
It's on page 3.
auf Seite 3.
It's from early writings, beginning in page 17.2.
Fängt an in Frühschriften, Seite 17.2.
And we will not read everything, but just the most important parts.
Und wir werden alles nicht lesen, nur die wichtigsten Teile daraus entziehen.
So, in early writing 17.2 it says, "We all went under the tree and sat down to look at the glory of the place when brethren Fitch and Stockman, who had preached the gospel of the kingdom and whom God had laid in the grave to save them, came up to us and asked us what we had passed through while they were sleeping. We tried to call up our greatest trials, but they looked so small compared with the far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory that surrounded us, that we could not speak them out, and we all cried out, Hallelujah, heaven is cheap enough. And we touched our glorious harps and made heaven's arches ring." So it's now, after Jesus came back and brought them all up to heaven.
Es ist nachdem, dass Jesus wiedergekommen ist und sie alle ins Himmel genommen hat.
And now Ellen White meets here Fitch and Stockman.
Und hier Ellen White trifft Fitch und Stockman.
But now it says in the next paragraph,
Aber in dem nächsten Absatz sagt es,
"With Jesus at our head, we all descended from the city down to this earth on a great and mighty mountain, which could not bear Jesus up, and it parted asunder, and there was a mighty plain. Then we looked up and saw the great city with 12 foundations and 12 gates, 3 on each side, and an angel at each gate. We all cried out, the great city, it's coming down from God out of heaven. And it came and settled on the place where we stood." Okay, so what is described here now?
so was wird hier beschrieben?
City coming down.
City coming down.
Der
right?
Stadt, der herabkommt.
So when does the holy Jerusalem come down?
So wann
on earth?
kommt der heilige Jerusalem herab?
At the end of the 1,000 years.
Yes, at the end of the 1,000 years.
Am
Right?
Ende der 1000 Jahre.
So this is now the earth made new, right?
Das ist hier die Erde, die neu gemacht worden
Well,
ist.
it's about to be.
Yes, I mean, okay, you have still the fire coming down, but this is not mentioned here, okay? So, because, the city comes down, okay,
Also der Stadt kommt herab
and they are now on earth, it says here,
und die sind hier auf der Erde.
right? Because it says here in the first sentence, "With Jesus at our head, we all descended from the city down to this earth," right? And then the city comes down from heaven, right? Okay, and then it says, in the next bold-faced,
Nächste fettgedrückte.
"Then we began to look at the glorious things outside of the city." So they now go and look what else is there outside of the city.
So die gehen und schauen, was noch außerhalb des Stadtes zu sehen ist.
It says I saw most glorious houses that had the appearance of silver, supported by 4 pillars set with pearls, most glorious to behold, and so on, so on, so forth. Okay, and then she basically explains what they all see.
Und dann erklärt sie, was sie alle sehen.
And now jump down to early writings 18.2.
Und jetzt kommt herab zu Frühschriften 18.2.
"As we were traveling along, we met a company who also were gazing at the glories of the place. I noticed red as the border on their garments. Their crowns were brilliant, their robes were pure white. As we greeted them, I asked Jesus who they were. He said they were martyrs that had been slain for him. With them was an innumerable company of little ones. They also had a hem of red on their garments. Mount Zion was just before us, and on the mount was a glorious temple." Okay, so where was the temple here located?
So wo war der Tempel hier zu finden?
Yes, on the mount. It was outside the city,
Auf
right?
dem Berg, außerhalb des Stadtes.
Because she said we went and looked what was outside of the city.
Denn sie hat gesagt, wir sind gegangen, um zu sehen, was außerhalb des Stadtes war.
So on Mount Zion there was this glorious temple.
So auf Zion, Berg Zion, war dieser herrliche Tempel.
And it says, "And about it were 7 other mountains on which grew roses and lilies. And I saw the little ones climb, or if they chose, use their little wings and fly to to the top of the mountains and plucked their never-fading flowers. There were all kinds of trees around the temple to beautify the place. The box, the pine, the fir, the oil, the myrtle, the pomegranate, the fig tree bowed down with the weight of its timely figs. These made the place all over glorious. And as we were about to enter the holy temple, Jesus raised his lovely voice and said, "Only the 144,000 enter this place." And we shouted, "Alleluia." This temple was supported by 7 pillars, all of transparent gold, set with pearls most glorious. And so on and so forth. So, yeah, we can see that this temple is outside the city.
So wir können sehen, dass dieser Tempel außerhalb des Stadtes ist.
And who only was permitted to serve in this temple?
Und wer nur durfte in diesem Tempel dienen?
Only the 144,000.
Nur die 144.000.
And it said here, the temple was in which portion?
Und es sagt hier, der Tempel war in welchem Teil?
Was the portion for the priests, right?
Der Portion, also der Teil für die Priester.
So, therefore these priests, they represent these 144,000.
So deswegen diese Priester stellen die 144.000 dar.
And they are allowed to minister in the temple. Yeah.
Sie sind erlaubt, in den Tempel zu dienen.
Okay. All right. So that was the first point I wanted to show, that the temple is outside the city.
So das war der erste Teil, den ich zeigen wollte, dass der Tempel außerhalb des Stadtes ist.
And that these priests are the
Und
144,000.
dass diese Priester die 144.000 sind.
Okay. And now another point.
Und jetzt ein weiteres Punkt.
Let's go back to Revelation 21
Zurück zur Offenbarung 21
and let's read verse 12.
und Vers 12.
It says, no. It says, Revelation 21, verse 12.
Offenbarung 21, Vers 12.
Speaks about the wall of the city.
Spricht über den Mauer der Stadt.
And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, so whose names is on the gates?
So wessen Namen sind auf diesen Toren?
Yeah, the names of the 12 tribes, right?
12 Stämme.
And we looked at the 144,000, right?
Und wir haben die 144.000 angeschaut.
And it says in the 144,000, all the 12 tribes were sealed. Right?
Und 144.000, darin waren alle 12 Stämme gesiegelt.
Let's go quickly back to Revelation 7 just to remind ourselves.
So Offenbarung 7, nur zur Erinnerung.
And then Louis can give me the answer because he knows it. Okay.
Also Louis kann den Antwort geben.
It says Revelation 7 verse 4.
Offenbarung 7, Vers 4.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And then the tribes are mentioned, right?
Dann werden die Stämme nacheinander erwähnt.
Okay, Louis. So, what is or who's missing in these tribes here, and who is replacing this missed one?
In diesen Stämmen, wer fehlt und wer wird ersetzt?
Yes, Dan is missing.
Also Dan fehlt.
And who replaced Dan in
Und
this
wer hat Dan
list here?
ersetzt in dieser Liste?
Manasseh, right?
Manasse.
Okay. Yes. So basically, you had all the original 12 tribes in there,
So,
except Dan was replaced by Manasseh.
es
Okay.
gab all die originale Stämme da drin, außer dass Dan durch Manasse ersetzt
Okay.
wurde.
So I just note this down for now.
So, ich werde das hier nur
Okay.
bemerken.
So among the
niederschreiben.
144,000, Dan is replaced by Manasseh.
So unter den 144.000, Dan würde durch Manasse ersetzt.
Okay, but so basically, it was I who suggested then that the names of the 12 tribes on the gates are the names of these 12 tribes here.
Also ich würde vorschlagen, dass die Namen
No,
auf den...
I suggested it with earlier studies.
Also ich habe das vorgeschlagen, dass die Namen auf der Toren der Stadt sind diese hier.
But as we'll see, that's not correct.
Aber wir werden sehen, dass das nicht ganz richtig ist.
Let's go to Ezekiel 48.
Lasst uns zu Ezekiel 48 gehen.
Because the holy city is described.
Und hier wird das heilige Stadt beschrieben.
And let's read verse 31 down to 34.
Und die Verse 31 bis 34.
Okay. It says, "And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel." So it speaks about this city here.
Es spricht
Okay.
über diesen Stadt hier.
3 gates northward, 1 gate of Reuben, 1 of Judah, 1 gate of Levi. And at the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates, and 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, 1 gate of Dan. Okay, so Dan is not replaced in these gates.
So,
Okay.
diesen Toren dann ist nicht ersetzt.
And then verse 33.
Vers 33.
And at the south side, 4,500 measures and 3 gates. 1 gate of Simeon, 1 gate of Issachar, and 1 gate of Zebulun. And at the west side, 4,500 with the 3 gates. 1 gate of Gad, 1 of Asher, and 1 gate of Naphtali. So the names of these gates are which names?
Also die Namen auf diesen Toren sind welchen Namen?
Yes, the original names of the 12 tribes.
Das
Okay.
sind die Originalnamen der 12 Stämme.
So there's no Manasseh, no Ephraim in it,
So, keine Manasse, kein Ephraim,
but all the original 12 tribes have the name
That would be
on
the,
the gates.
the jewels that were in the border of the ephod.
aber alle originalen Namen sind an den Toren von dieser
Within the
Stadt.
ephod. Because within the ephod,
Okay, so
or was it already replaced in the ephod?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now.
I think, no, actually I think it was already
They were already
replaced.
replaced because in Genesis he'd already mentioned it, right? And then by the time you got to, no, I have to look at. I was looking at this
Yes.
this morning.
But the border was the same stones as the 12 apostles in Revelation 21. That's what this word says. As the foundations of the city. That was the border. And then within the border you have the 12 stones of
Also
the
die
tribes.
Umrandung von den priestlichen Ephod, das waren die 12 Aposteln, die Fundament der Stadt, und innerhalb von den Ephod waren die original
Was it
12
not the
Stämme.
split or the Jennifer said? She said the 12 stones represent the same.
No, that's what I first did, but then she corrected me and said, look, it says it's the border is the same as the foundation,
That's what I mean.
but
But
inside the border of the breastplate you had the 12 stones. So the 12 stones inside the border were different from the 12 stones of the
yeah, that's
border.
what I'm saying. There's 12 stones in the border, though, right?
Es gibt 12 Steine auf den Grenze des Ephods und 12 Steine innerhalb.
But what I'm saying is the 12 stones in the border are the same as the ones here.
The 12 stones of the borders are the same as the apostles.
Also die 12 Steine auf der Grenze, das ist derselbe wie die Apostel.
Revelation 21.
Offenbarung 21.
Okay, I'll have to look at that.
Yes,
Okay.
we can look at after. But okay, so the point I want you to see is basically, that the temple is outside the city,
Aber der Punkt, den ich möchte, dass wir sehen, ist, dass der Tempel außerhalb des Stadtes zu finden ist.
and it's only for the 144,000 to enter, which are these priests here.
Es sind nur für die 144.000, die da reingehen können, was diese Priester sind.
And also that the gates of the city are the names of the original 12 tribes.
Und
Okay.
auch, dass die Namen der Tore der Stadt sind auch die Originalnamen der 12 Stämme.
So, and we must get all these things right, because you can see that 144,000, they have a change in these 12 tribes, and then there's these different encampments which had a change in the 12 tribes, and all these things. Okay, so we must consider all these points.
Also wir müssen all diesen Punkten in Betracht ziehen, denn die 144.000, die hat eine Veränderung in den 12 Stämmen, Und auch der Auslegung der Lagern um den Stiftshütte, die hatten auch eine Veränderung in den Stämmen gehabt. Also all diese Punkte müssen wir zusammenbringen und in Betracht ziehen.
Okay, so I just wanted to share this, and I don't know what the Lord wants to teach us with this, but you can be sure that that's something we need to know.
Also ich wollte das nur mitteilen. Ich habe keine Ahnung, was der Herr uns damit lernen möchte, aber ihr könnt sicher sein, dass irgendetwas.
Because whenever we have a false concept, God cannot lead us further. Right?
Denn wenn immer wir ein falsches Verständnis von irgendetwas haben, der Herr kann uns nicht weiterbringen.
So as long as we thought the temple was in the city, that was an error.
Solange, dass wir gedacht haben, dass der Tempel innerhalb der Stadt ist, das war ein Irrtum.
Yes. And as long as we thought the names of the gates were these names, was also an error.
Solange, dass wir gedacht haben, dass die Namen auf den Toren der Stadt waren, das war auch ein Irrtum.
Okay, so I don't know, Ezekiel 40 to 48 are probably the deepest chapters ever, but we at least start looking at this. Okay?
Also Ezekiel 40 bis 48, diese Kapitel sind wahrscheinlich die tiefsten von allen, aber zumindest haben wir angefangen, sie hier anzuschauen.
Okay, so any questions left?
Hat jemand Fragen?
Otherwise we can then close and our prayer round.
Andererseits können wir mit unserer Gebetsstunde abschließen.
And let's